Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. I'm Hasham Ali Khan. Now I'm going to start a new subject, income tax, for the assessment year 2022-23. I'm getting a lot of requests from different viewers to start this subject because they are having their exams shortly. So I've decided to start the subject, and these videos will be very much helpful to make clear the provisions of the Income Tax Act for the current assessment year, that is 22-23. So now in this video I am going to start the unit number 1, which consists of totally 7 topics, and these are the basic things which every student must know before going for problems. The problems are based on the provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961. So until and unless you are clear about the provisions, you should not go to solve the problem. Otherwise, every problem will be difficult for you. And in examination, apart from problems, you have to write the theory also regarding what is tax, what are the characteristic features of tax, what are the objectives of tax, and what are the different types of tax. So these are the topics I'm going to cover up in this video. Then after this, the next video will be basic concepts which are used in income tax, like assessment year, previous year, SSC, income, and average rate of tax, PAN. All these are the concepts which are used in Income Tax Act. Thirdly, agricultural income. Income Tax Act has given specific provisions for taxing the agricultural income. Separate video, separate chapter is there. Then income tax rules and exemptions. Every year, the rules regarding the income tax, rates, everything will change. So what are the current rules and exemptions for the assessment year 2023? Then next, income exempt from tax. What are the incomes which are completely exempted from tax? That I'll make one video. Next one is residential status. Income tax is based not on the citizenship, but on the residential status of the SSC during the previous year. This topic is also very important from examination point of view. One video I'll make for residential status. Lastly, incidence of tax. Which income is taxable and which income is not taxable? That is in incidence of tax. These are the topics I will cover up in unit number 1. So if you are interested, really interested in getting a good command on this subject of income tax, watch all the videos from beginning till end. Not once, twice, thrice. If you watch with full concentration, there won't be any problems. There won't be any difficulty in solving the problems. So before starting the explanation of tax, characteristics, objectives, and types, take the screenshot of the points written on the board. Then I'll explain every point in detail. Now, first of all, meaning of tax. A tax is a compulsory contribution made by the people of the country to the government. It's a statutory payment. The government will impose the tax on the people. The people have to pay the tax, and from that money, the government will spend the money on the common, purpose for everyone. So tax means a statutory payment, legal payment, then to be made by the people to the and imposed by the government. That means only the government can impose the tax on the people, and it's a statutory duty of the people to pay the tax to the government. It's a compulsory payment by a person to the government. It's a compulsory. We cannot, it is not voluntary. It's the compulsory payment. When the government imposes the tax, it is the obligation. It's a statutory obligation of the people to pay the tax to the government. Professor Adams, he has defined the tax. He says the meaning of tax will be different from different point of view. From government point of view, from the point of the government, a tax is a source of revenue. When the government says tax, means the government says the tax is the revenue to the government. Then secondly, from the point of view of citizen, a tax is a coerced payment. From the common citizen, from the people point of view, a tax is a coerced payment. Coerced means it is the payment will be by enforcing, by compulsion. The government has made it compulsory, coerced payment that everybody have to pay the tax, right? Thirdly, from the administrative point of view, from the administration point of view, tax, it's a demand for money by state in conformity with established laws. So we have the law, rules. So government will impose the rules. So by implementing that rules, the state will collect the tax. That is from administrative point of view. Lastly, from theoretical point of view, a tax is a contribution from the individuals for the common expenditure. It's a contribution made by the people of the country to the government so that the government can spend it on common expenditure. Expenditure required for everyone. Nobody will come forward. For example, laying the roads and starting government hospitals, government educational institutions, and defense, law and order. All these are the common expenditure the government has to spend. The people have to pay the tax to the government so that the government can spend it on some common purpose. This is the definition given by Professor Adams. Now I'm moving on to what are the characteristic features of tax. In examination it will be asked. So first feature, it is imposed by government. First of all, no other person can impose the tax except government. In every country, the government only will impose the tax. Secondly, paid in the form of cash. In ancient times, the taxes were collected even in non-cash forms also. In kind also taxes were paid. But presently, the taxes will be paid only in the form of cash. Next, aim of levying tax is to promote welfare of the people. One of the objective of the government is promoting the welfare of the people. So the taxes collected by the government, the taxes levied by the government will be for the purpose of common welfare, the welfare of the people. That's why tax is collected. Next, object of tax is to raise revenue of the government. See here, the government will also have the expenditure just like an individual. Every person will have to spend so much of money on food, shelter, clothing, education. All these things, the people will need the money. With the help of this money, the people will satisfy their wants. Similarly, the government has to spend a lot of money on different activities. So taxes is a source of revenue to the government. Next one, tax is a legal collection. The government will levy the tax, impose the tax according to the law, according to the rules framed by the government. So it's a legal collection. It does not depend on the will of the government. The government is implementing the law and making it compulsory to pay the tax. Element of sacrifice. Tax will have an element of sacrifice on the part of the payer. We, the taxpayers, will feel the pinch while paying the tax because there is sacrifice. We are paying the amount directly to the government without expecting any direct benefit to us. The government will spend the money on the common welfare. The government will not give any specific benefit to the taxpayer. So taxpayer will feel the pinch of sacrifice. Next is levied by the government by virtue of power conferred by the constitution. In every country, the law, the constitution has given the power to the government to collect the tax. The government is collecting the tax by using the power which is given by the constitution. Tax is not a payment of specific service. When we pay the tax, we are not paying for a particular specific service to the taxpayer. The government can spend on any common purpose. The taxpayer cannot demand from the government that I am the taxpayer, give me some specific privilege to us. No. No taxpayer can demand from the government for a specific benefit. Next one, tax may be imposed on income, wealth, or goods, either directly or indirectly. See here, in the next video, I'm going to explain you about the different types of tax, direct tax and indirect tax. But right now, you remember the tax is levied on income or wealth or goods, right? So these are few characteristic features of tax. After watching the video with full concentration, definitely all the points you can remember and write in your own words in examination. Now, objectives. What are the objectives of collecting the tax, levying the tax by the government? Every government has to discharge its statutory, administrative and social functions. Every country, the government has to perform, has to discharge a number of functions. Statutory functions are there, administrative functions are there, social functions are there. All these are the functions or duties of the government. The government has to discharge. But for discharging all these duties, the government needs funds. The government needs money. So to discharge the duties, money is required by the government. So every government major source of revenue comes by levy and collection of taxes from the public. So in order to discharge all the functions, statutory functions, administrative functions, social functions, the government needs funds. So public has to pay the tax. The government will impose the tax on the people to get the required revenue. By using that revenue, the government will perform its functions. Now, the objectives of taxes can be broadly classified into two categories: traditional objectives or traditional approach and modern approach. So traditionally, why the taxes are collected? What are the objectives of collecting the tax? First one, to generate income to meet day-to-day expenditure of the government. Just like an individual has so many expenditure from morning till evening, he will spend money on different activities, different purposes, right? Similarly, the government has to spend so much expenditure day to day. Day-to-day running expenditure is required by the government. So in order to meet the day-to-day expenditure, the government is collecting the tax. First one. Second, to provide basic needs of the people. Nobody should starve. Nobody should be without having any clothes or shelter. The government's responsibility is to provide the basic needs of the people. That's why the government will collect the tax. Next one, to bring socio-economic changes in the people. Until and unless the people will change their minds, will change their behavior, we cannot bring about economic development. So for economic development, socio-economic changes has to be brought. That means education has to be increased and health facilities should be provided. Basic infrastructure should be provided so that the people's thinking should change. So to bring about all these socio-economic changes, the government needs money. So tax is required to protect the home trade from domestic industries and domestic industries from global business. Nowadays, due to globalization, which took place in 1990s, that means the home industries, the domestic industries are facing the competition from foreign businesses. So the government will collect the tax in order to protect the domestic industries from foreign competitors. Next one is prevention and control of concentration of economic power. Remember, if taxes are not collected, the rich will become richer and poor will become poorer. That means the money multiplies money. If a person is having more money, he can be able to earn more money. In this way, there will be economic concentration of power in the hands of few people. Few people will have so many resources and many people does not have anything. There is disparity between haves and have-nots. To remove that, the government will implement the tax to remove the economic concentration among the few people. Next one is redistribution of income and wealth. The income and wealth of the country should be distributed among the people so that the gap between rich and poor should be reduced. Next one, formation of public capital for rapid economic development of the country. By using these taxes, the government will make the capital formation for the economic development of the country. The people will, earn the money and spend it. In this way, we cannot be able to form the capital by implementing the tax. By collecting the tax, public money, the government will make the investment so that there will be economic development in the country. Next one, to encourage savings and channelize such savings into investments. See here, the government will encourage the people to save their income. If they save their income, there will be reduction, there will be exemption from tax. The government will give you so many exemptions, allowances if the people save the money. When you save the money, you can channelize into investments. That means your income is saved and savings will create the investment. And investment will bring about economic development in the country. These are the traditional objectives why the government will levy the tax. Now modern approach. Now modern days, in the present days, the approach has been changed. Earlier, these are the objectives why tax is collected. But right now, the first one, ensuring accelerated economic development. We want only economic development. We want accelerated economic development. That means the speed, the pace of development should be high. Our development should be at a higher speed. To speed up economic development, the government will implement the tax. Secondly, increasing employment opportunities. Nowadays, every country is facing the problem of unemployment. The government will impose the tax so that the tax collected can be invested in huge projects. And those projects will absorb the employment. So in this way, unemployment will decrease by implementing income tax. Next one is reducing regional imbalances. Every country we will find regional imbalances. Some areas are highly developed and some areas are completely backward. So there is a lot of disparity between developed areas and undeveloped areas. The government wants to make equal development in all the areas. Otherwise, many socio-economic problems will arise. People will move away from rural areas to urban areas. There will be urbanization, huge problems in urban areas. To remove that, the government will implement the tax and make development in the undeveloped areas. In this way, regional imbalances can be removed. Then regulation of consumption of undesirable commodities. The government will impose the tax in order to discourage the people from undesirable consumption of commodities like alcohol, cigarette. These are injurious to health. So government wants to prevent the people from consuming these undesirable commodities. So government will impose heavy taxes on alcohol, on cigarette, on different types of drugs like that. What will happen? The people will be discouraged from using it. So that is also one of the objectives of imposing the tax. Next one is protection of domestic industries from foreign competition. Nowadays, due to globalization, that means the businesses are moving from one country to another country. There is free movement of capital, goods, labor, finance from one country to another country. In such a competitive world, it is the responsibility of the government to protect the home industries. Otherwise, foreign competitors will just throw away the domestic industries. Next one is controlling inflationary situation. Inflation means general rise in the price level. The prices of goods and services are increasing day to day, and it will have a bad effect on the standard of living of the people. So the government's responsibility is to control the inflation. Government will implement the tax. Promoting capital formation. Without capital formation, no country can develop. Capital formation means out of the earnings of the people should make the investment. The people should not consume all their incomes. Some part of their incomes they should invest. When everybody invests, the capital formation will take place. And when capital formation takes place, the whole economy will grow. Next one, regulating production from the national point of view. See here, production will be regulated by the government from the national point of view. Means which are the products which are to be regulated, like basic things are there, the government will regulate it so that everybody can be able to have those basic needs, right? So these are the modern objectives of income tax. Very frequently in examination they will ask you what are the objectives. So write down all these, the traditional objectives and modern objectives. Lastly, types of taxes. Taxes are of different types. The ultimate purpose of the tax is same. The government is collecting the tax from the people. The names of the taxes are different. What are the different types of taxes? Duty. It is a tax to regulate the industrial production and to control export and import. Duty is a form of tax on production. The example, excise duty will be applied on production. When a producer produces the goods in the factory, as soon as the production is over, tax is imposed. That is called excise duty. Apart from that, the government will import the duty called customs duty whenever there are imports or exports from the country. So whenever there is import of goods or exporting the goods, the people have to pay the customs duty. So simply, duty is a tax on production and import and export. Next one is cess. If the tax is collected or levied for a specific purpose, example, health and education cess. Presently, the government is collecting health and education cess. It is a tax, but the tax is collected mainly for the purpose of health and education of the people in the country. That is called cess. Next one, surcharge. Surcharge is a tax on tax. Normally, when the income of the people is very high, they have the more ability to pay the tax. The government will impose a heavy tax on them. That means already basic income tax is calculated. On that basic income tax, again tax will be calculated. Again tax will be calculated. Example, a person is having, let it be, 10 lakh rupees income. On 10 lakh rupees income, the basic income tax was 2,50,000. This is the basic income tax. On that 2,50,000 income tax, surcharge will be taxed, will be applied, right? So it's a tax on tax. So it is levied. If the object of levying higher tax for short period of time, then the government will resort to surcharge. If the government needs temporarily huge revenue, the government is facing the cash crunch, the government is facing the shortage of funds. In that case, temporarily, the government will impose surcharge. For example, total income of an individual exceeds 50 lakh. That means, for the current assessment year, remember 22-23, this surcharge is very important, not only from problems, but also you will get a theory question. What is surcharge? You have to remember the rates. Below 50 lakh, up to 50 lakh, no surcharge will be applied. That means during the current previous year, if the total income of the SSC is up to 50 lakh rupees, no surcharge will be applied. If the total income exceeds 50 lakh rupees up to 1 crore, over 50 lakh and up to 1 crore, 10% is the rate of surcharge. If the total income exceeds 1 crore but up to 2 crore, the surcharge rate is 15%. Here you can see 15%. When the total income is more than 1 crore but up to 2 crore. If the income increases more than 2 crore up to 5 crore, the surcharge rate is 25%. You can see here. If the total income exceeds 2 crore but up to 5 crore in the year, the surcharge rate is 25%. If the total income is more than 2 crore but up to 5 crore. If the income of the person, if the income of the individual is more than 5 crore during the period, during the previous year, then surcharge rate is 37%. These are the different rates: 10%, 15%, 25%, 37%. These are the different rates of surcharge. Now, octroi. If tax is levied by municipal corporation on goods brought from other parts of the country by traders for sale. Normally what will happen? The goods are produced in one state. The goods are produced in one state but transported to another state. The goods are produced in state A, but the goods are being transported from A state to B state. So when the goods are entering B state, octroi duty or entry tax will be applied by B state, because the goods which are produced in A state are entering for sale in B state. The B state will apply octroi duty or entry tax. Next, terminal tax. It is opposite of octroi tax. Terminal tax means the tax which is levied when goods are leaving the state to be sold in other state. Example, when the goods are produced in A state but being transported to B state, so A state will apply terminal tax because goods are moving from A state, and B state will apply octroi tax, octroi duty, because the goods are entering into B state. Last one is toll tax. The toll tax is a tax on vehicles moving on a particular road or particular bridge. So only when the people travel in cars or jeeps or buses, they have to pay toll tax for using the roads. So this tax is paid by vehicular travelers. The person who are traveling in car, jeep, bus, etc. for using road or bridge to reach the destination have to pay the tax. So when the people are traveling, they are using a particular road or bridge in car, jeep or bus, they have to pay the toll tax. So in examination, you may be asked what are the different types of taxes. So you remember all these duty, cess, surcharge, octroi, terminal tax and toll tax. That's all. So in this video, I have explained you about what is the meaning of the term tax. What are the objectives, characteristic features of tax? What are the objectives of tax? And lastly, what are the different types of tax? Inshallah, we'll continue our discussion in the next video. So if you are satisfied, give a like to the video. Share my channel among your friends, among your groups, so that more students can watch the video and enhance the knowledge. Subscribe my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and give your comments on these videos. Lastly, buy the super thanks which is given below my video. Inshallah, we will continue the next topic in the next video.